Hey guys, it's Allie, and today is the first day of November, which means that NaNoWriMo Day 1 has dawned, and so in honor of that, I wanted to make a kind of NaNoWriMo survival guide video. I've seen a lot of these videos on YouTube, and I think that I have a couple that are a little bit different, some stuff that I use specifically, so I wanted to share those with you and hopefully give you guys some other options of things that you can use that will get us through this month together. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing that I use every NaNoWriMo is something that I use for any piece of writing I do ever, and that is Scrivener, which I got a couple years ago in college because I splurged and decided to get it. It does cost money. I don't know exactly how much it costs now. When I bought it, it was roughly $50. I know that a lot of people use Google Docs and a lot of people use Word. I like Scrivener because it helps me to keep track of my word count. On Scrivener, you can keep chapter-based word count goals, daily word count goals, and manuscript-wide word count goals. And so it shows you all of those simultaneously. And so that helps me a lot in keeping track of my word count for NaNoWriMo and just in general to have a general idea of like, wow, this chapter is only 1,000 words and this chapter is like 5,000 words. Like, what's going on here? Maybe I need to fix this and stuff like that. So that is one of the things that I like about Scrivener and why I personally really like it for NaNoWriMo. I definitely suggest as number 2 on this kind of survival guide to have a separate folder, a separate document, a separate part of your Scrivener project dedicated to notes, jigsaw pieces, and any kind of like extra blurbs or cutscenes. So if I'm writing a scene and then I think about how, you know what, this thing that he just said makes me think that 3 scenes later, he could say this other thing in reference to this original conversation. So I will go up to that separate document, I will type that in, and then I'll go back to the chronological story. And I want that to be included in my word count. So if you are like me and you use Scrivener, then you have your manuscript section, and then you also have a notes section. And you can put those separately, but the notes section doesn't count in the overall manuscript word count. So what I do is I have a separate document that comes before chapter 1 in my Scrivener project, and it is labeled jigsaw pieces and thought dumping. And so I have that up in the top of my manuscript, so whatever words I put in there throughout the course of NaNoWriMo counts towards my overall project. It counts towards my daily word count goal, but it doesn't count towards, you know, the chronological story. So I can just as easily go pop in there, put those words in, it'll count towards NaNoWriMo, and then go right back to the chronological story and keep chugging along from there. That's another thing that I like about Scrivener that I couldn't as easily do on Word. I used to have like 2 separate documents, and I mean, it's easy. All you have to do is just like count together the different word counts on the different documents, but I just like having everything in the same document. So that is piece of advice number 2 is to have a separate folder for your cutscenes and stuff. Let yourself use those words towards your word count goal because they're still writing and they're still getting stuff in. And if you want to use notes in your overall word count, then add that too. Do NaNoWriMo whatever way you want to do it, but having a separate document for that stuff is definitely very helpful. Highly recommend. Number 3 is something that I use personally, and full disclosure, there are easier ways of going about this. This is just something that I personally use, and that is Evernote, which is a note-taking app that you can transfer between different devices. So I've seen in a lot of these kind of NaNoWriMo survival guide videos, there are a lot of people who show like journals and, you know, little cute notebooks that they write in and do whatever. But honestly, I don't really do a lot of handwriting when it comes to actual, you know, writing out the story. I do handwrite some things when it comes to character profiles and things like that, but I don't really write when I'm actually writing out dialogue or story, anything like that. So I like to use more digital note-taking apps where I can actually type stuff. And Evernote is one that I personally really like because it encompasses all of the different aspects of any other like note-taking app. So even like the Notes app on your phone, which you can use and you can transfer to different devices through iCloud or whatever if you have that kind of stuff. Evernote also includes the voice memos, and it also includes, you can have pictures, and they even have some templates for like character profiles and for plot development and stuff like that that are within just the free version of the app. So those are really helpful, and they can obviously transfer stuff between 2 devices in the free version. I used to have it with my phone and my laptop back before I had my desktop computer so that I could have notes when I was out and about and also when I was sitting down and writing. And nowadays, since I do have the desktop computer where I do the majority of my writing, I keep my main project on my desktop computer, and then if I am going out somewhere, like for example, BookNet Fest, I met up with some writers and we did some writing sprints. I took my laptop with me, obviously can't take my desktop, and so I Evernoted over some stuff to my laptop and worked on my story that way. So that is the way that I do it. I, again, am fully aware that Scrivener actually has a feature that lets you back up your entire project and sync it between different devices. I think it uses some kind of Dropbox feature, but I just haven't figured that out yet. I haven't tried doing it that way because I have used Evernote for so long. So I know that there are ways to do that. Also, if you don't use Scrivener, then you can just as easily use Google Docs for your stories. That does essentially the same thing. There are many other ways to do it. So I'm not saying that Evernote is the only way to do it. You could just as easily use something like Google Docs or an actual physical notebook, whatever works best for you, but just some way to keep your writing portable. Number 4 is to keep certain books around you. So for me right now, I have at least usually one kind of writing practice book near me so that I have something to turn to if I start to get frustrated or feel lost in the plot in any way, because plot is the hardest thing for me to write. I'm much more of like a character, like let's all sit down and talk about our feelings type writer. That is where my instincts go towards. So I like to have something near me to help me kind of get through the plot. Right now, that is John Truby's Anatomy of Story, which I am reading for something that I will mention later in the video, so stick around for that. That's a little announcement at the end of this video. But so that is the book that I've been keeping near me this past October and also going into November. I'm not done with it yet. I have read that book before, so I am going back through and rediscovering a lot of things that like I highlighted before and then completely forgot about. Anyway, but I have that book near me, and then also the second type of book that I sometimes will, pull out if I need it, is a book that I really love, a book that inspires me, a book that maybe has a little bit of similarity to my writing style or the tone of my story or such and such and such and such. Usually that book for me is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, not because it has the same feel or it has a similar premise, it really doesn't, but it does have a huge inspirational appeal for me because I love that book so much. So there's so many lines in that book where I'm like, oh, dang, that's a good line. Like, I want to write a good line like that. So there is a huge inspiration factor for me with that book. So if I am feeling really lost, it's not that I like go in and like search for a line and then like copy and paste that line into my book. Like, that's plagiarism. But more so, I just like kind of go back and look at some of the lines that have really inspired me, and that inspires me to write my book better, if that makes sense. Finally, number 5, which will lead into my little mini announcement at the end of this video, is to have a writing community around you. So NaNoWriMo has this thing called Writing Buddies where you can hook up and set your goals alongside a bunch of other writers. You just have to know each other's username and then send a request. It's very, very simple. And just having people, even just if you never talk once, just seeing how other people are doing in their journey is super helpful. The first time I ever did NaNoWriMo was when I was in high school. I was a freshman, and nobody knew that I was doing NaNoWriMo because I only barely knew what it was. So when I first did NaNoWriMo, I had absolutely no kind of support system around me. Obviously, like, my family was very supportive and knew that I was doing it, and so did my teacher, but it wasn't something where I had other people who were participating around me, like helping cheer me on and stuff like that, because I didn't really have any writing friends. So I instead, just had to kind of go about it and do it on my own, which was really a unique and fun experience to do it like that, to just like sit in my room and like agonize over this book all day. But now that I'm grown, I definitely need some other support and some people to kind of push me forward and to spur me on, because otherwise I am less motivated to get stuff done. So having a writing community around you, even if it's just having writing buddies and checking on their progress and like seeing how they're doing, and giving yourself that kind of kick in the butt of like, well, damn, look, like Cindy has almost 40,000 words written and it's only day 3. Like, I need to get my head in the game, whatever the case may be. So that is definitely a huge, huge, huge one for me. And so on that note, I want to give you guys a little bit of an announcement. I am going to be co-hosting, one of many co-hosts, in a new book club called Writers in Progress, hosted by Leah from Where in the World is Leah Jane. She's the one who had the idea. She is fantastic. And she is one of my closest writing friends. And so we are going to be starting this book club about writing and looking looking at books through the perspective of a writer. And since we are starting this November 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, set your alarm clocks now. Since we are starting this book club in November, we decided to start off with actual, writing practice books. So we are each reading an individual book. Mine is John Truby's Anatomy of Story. And then together we are all reading Stephen King's On Writing, which is kind of seen as this like holy grail of writing advice. So head over to the Twitter. It is at WIP Chats. I will link it down below. That is where you can see all of the information about the other co-hosts and about all of the separate books that they are reading in addition to Stephen King's. So that is going to be happening on November 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So put that on your calendars and come hang out with us. It is going to be a live show. This is going to be like a YouTube book club type thing. So we are really excited to do it, and I have never done a live show before, so I'm very nervous, but I'm also really excited, and I hope to be able to chat with you guys about some writing tips that we get from these popular authors or popular people in media. So I'm really excited. I'm also really nervous, and I hope you guys will join us. And I really wish you luck on your NaNoWriMo projects. Wish me luck on mine, because I am trying to finish my book this November. Trying. That is my goal. That is my hope. That is my plan. We shall see. But you know what? No, we shall not see. We shall do. And so that is my goal. That is what I am aiming towards. So if you want to be writing buddies on the NaNoWriMo website, then I will also leave my my profile link down below so you can add me as a friend, and we can just make it through this together. So I hope that these kind of survival guide tips have been helpful to you. I just wanted to share what I specifically use and the kind of things that help me through. I really hope you guys have a good time and don't stress too much about this NaNoWriMo. It is supposed to be a very fun thing, even though we like to talk about how miserable it makes us and stuff like that. It is a really fun exercise, and I have so much fun every year that I do it, every time I participate in something like this. So I am very excited. I'm also very excited for this live show on November 16th at 3 p.m. Turning into like Jake Paul. So I am going to leave it at that, but good luck on your NaNoWriMo projects. Wish me luck. Add me as a friend on NaNoWriMo. Go check out the WIP Chats Writers in Progress Twitter, and I shall see you in the next one. Also, coffee. Coffee is an absolute necessity for NaNoWriMo and also for any other day of my life.